One word. One hypnotist, Chris Jones. Chris Jones. One word. You met somebody famous the other day. Who did you meet?
I sure as hell did. The guy is like the David Blaine of the UK.
Okay.
His name's Darren Brown. But if you ask any magician who's the best performer, they will say without a doubt it's Darren Brown. I was geeking out like a schoolgirl, yeah.
So what makes him so good?
He's incredible. I mean, it's hard to put into words how good this show is. I'll have to send you a link or two. He tells you what he's going to do, and you're like, all right, now I'm ready. And then he does, and you're like, I don't know how he did that. For example, he says, I'm going to put a banana on this stand, and at some point, a man in a gorilla costume will come out, take it, and I'm hoping most of you will not notice this. And then, sure enough, the banana's gone, and then it's gone a second time. And then the third time you see the monkey, and you're like, oh, there's the gorilla. And it takes off its head, and it's him. You're like, he was just on stage.
A lot of that is like psychology. I learned a lot of that stuff in psychology. Is that it's the art of misperception,
or redirection.
Or redirection. That's what I meant. The art of redirection. So I mean, you're telling somebody what you're going to do, and you're looking for it, but then something else happens. And look, there's a squirrel. Oh, look at the squirrel. Oh, where'd the banana go?
Exactly. So,
that's pretty cool. So, I mean, so even a guy that's into magic, that's into comedy, that is a performer, was still taken back by what this guy's doing.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, it's kind of like I heard Chris Rock and Kevin Hart were both at a Dave Chappelle stand-up show. And they both look at each other, and they're like, our shit's terrible compared to this. Because Dave Chappelle, he just goes up there, and he talks from the heart, he talks from the gut, and it's hysterical. Dave Chappelle did start when he was 14. He's had years and years of practice.
But he also was the highest paid entertainer at one time, and turned it down and walked away from everything because he didn't want to do it anymore. I've
gone down the YouTube rabbit hole researching why he quit, and in his own words, why he stepped away. And have you seen a recent photo of Dave Chappelle?
I have not.
He's a muscular guy now. He gained all this weight, and he has all this muscle now. And they're like, so what happened? He said, well, when you take care of yourself, you gain weight. And he's like, I didn't know that you were supposed to look a certain way and not be rail thin.
Huh.
So, yeah.
So
taking care of himself, actually spending time and having a relationship with his children. I respect him a lot more now.
Oh, that's cool. Now, let me ask you this. You talked about rabbit holes, because I think that a lot of us get stuck going down rabbit holes on a very regular basis. I know that I was at the dentist today, and I was talking to the girl that was working on my teeth, and we were just talking about how aren't
they always so pretty?
Yes, very
Was
pretty.
Your dental hygiene? Oh God, I hate that.
Very pretty.
You have the prettiest person picking your teeth. It's like, oh, you should floss more. I'm like, I'm never gonna floss. And you don't need to tell me. I'm sorry, but it's always just the nicest person. You're like, I'm sorry about everything you find.
And beautiful too.
Or they're like, hey, did you have popcorn? I'm like, yes, I had popcorn.
Like 2 weeks ago. Why?
Yeah.
But we're talking about how, as a society, we nowadays, we're so bored with anything that we're doing, things that we used to do regularly and not think anything of, like going to the grocery store, standing in line. Now we pick up our phones and we're playing on our phones because we don't have the patience to sit through and to do nothing for a few moments.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is really too bad. I mean,
it is.
I think that we're all kind of going down rabbit holes just with that. I mean, how many times have you been standing in line at the grocery store, been bored, looked at something, and then 25 minutes later you're standing at the after you paid for your groceries, waiting to get into your car because you're trying to figure out, well, how does this fit into the philosophy of life?
Oh God, I get stuck on the philosophy of life. Like, have you read Fahrenheit 451?
I have not.
Years ago, it was grade school book. I think it's called Fahrenheit 451. That's the temperature at which paper and books burn. And I have to look. I have my copy somewhere, but the guy predicted so much stuff about the future. People don't have time to talk to one another. Yeah, Ray Bradbury, Fahrenheit 451. This is the 60th anniversary edition I'm holding in my hands. And I guess it was first published in 51. Copyright 1950. It was originally called The Fireman. But either way, 1950.
But he predicted a bunch of stuff in the future?
One thing he predicted is people would have seashells in their ears. And you wouldn't tell if they were talking to you or the person in their ear because they walk around with seashells. And those are just, the pods you put in your ear.
Yeah.
The earbud pods, whatever. And then he's predicting that TVs will be the size of your wall. And then you could have 3 TVs put together so you're surrounded by people.
Let me ask you this, Chris. Do you think that that people coming up with, things like that in the past helped to initiate that thought process to get that stuff started in the future?
Oh, that's fascinating. That's a really good question. So it's not predicting.
So it's not predicting, but
you're encouraging.
Yeah, you're encouraging somebody who maybe has a stronger thought process than you to come up with and to explore that as a possibility.
Well, I mean, Star Trek was talking about cell phones and gadgets like that, and they're like, "Oh, we totally could have that technology. We can make cell phones with Star Trek." And Dick Tracy had the watch you could talk into. Yeah, that was a short-lived thing.
Or you look at Maxwell Smart and talking into his shoe, and you look. I mean, there's the amount of technology that was, perhaps faked, like the $6 Million Man, things like that. That all of a sudden now is more reality than anything else.
That's a good point.
Interesting. See, that's what I always like about conversations with you, Chris, is that I never know where they're going to go.
God knows. It's so true.
So what else to do? Where are you performing these days? How was Harvard?
Harvard was awesome. I have to edit the video, but it was so cool. Like, you've seen the show at lacrosse, and everyone gets hypnotized. You have way more people hypnotized than you want or you can handle. Harvard, a lot of them got hypnotized, but then they're like, I feel different, but I'm not going to slow dance with this person. And I was like, that's cool. That's cool. It's totally cool. But they were on a different mental wavelength than anything else I've experienced before, like legitimately.
Do you think that it has, does that have to do with the smarts, or does it have to do with I'm afraid that somebody's going to see me acting like a fool, and therefore it's going to corrupt my,
I think it's the smarts.
It might corrupt my political persuasion in the future?
Barack Obama was totally smoking weed when he was in college, and then in grad school he was at Harvard Law. I think it was more just they are cut from a different cloth.
What are we doing? What are we talking about? What's the word? What's the one word?
Let's combine it. Let's say growth patience, or patience growth.
Well, I'm guessing that patience is something that Stacy is dealing with now because she's married to you now, and growth is what you're having to do because you're now married.
Yeah.
So what about patience?
She's teaching me, and I'm learning. Even if you make steps towards doing something, that's progress. Like today, we're finally trying to send out thank you cards for our wedding that was in July.
Hey, at least you're turning them in, because you know what? We've been invited to weddings, gone to baby showers, and not got thank you notes. So if you're thinking about doing them now in November, July is only 5 months ago, you're ahead of the gang.
I appreciate that. So we're putting photos from our honeymoon together, and I was going to print them up today at Office Depot. Question, sidebar, is every Office Depot horrible? Have you ever walked out of Office Depot and felt better about your life?
No, never.
Staples I love. I love Staples. But Office Depot, I'm just like, no one wants to be here. This is a warehouse. So, yes, again, patience and growth.
Patience and growth. I think that's something that we all need to work on, honestly. Patience, you know what? Patience is something that we constantly have to deal with. I am horrible at patience. Even today, I told you earlier I had a dentist appointment. I was driving to my dentist appointment, and we had a snowfall last night that was only about a half an inch or an inch, so not much. But everybody drives like an idiot after a snowfall. And the people going slow in the left lane under the speed limit and they're matching with the person in the right lane, pisses me off because I can't do anything. So for me, my patience was pushed, and I actually yelled at I was yelling into my windshield today because of the idiot that would move over. And so I posted that on Facebook, and then somebody said, "Oh, are you the only professional driver out there?"
That's nice.
And I'm like, no, I'm not the only professional driver out there, and I'm not a professional driver, but I try to be a courteous driver.
That's important.
You're right, it is, but I do need help and patience, as do I think a lot of people.
Yeah. Another thing I've had to learn is sometimes people will give you their best, but you expect more, but it is their best, and that's hard for me. Like sometimes people disappoint you because they're literally doing their best, but it's in your mind not good enough.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Good, I hope so. I was like, I hope this isn't coming off too strong.
And I'm sorry, I am doing the best that I can.
Shut up. God, that's funny. I was in the lobby of the apartment building today, and this kid was showing his report card to our front desk worker. And by the way, she does the front desk job as a side hustle. Like, she's good for money. She does this to meet people and to share her sweetness. So she just adopts all the kids in the apartment. And she said to him, "You got a D in math. I'm going to give you some money for this A and this B. I'm going to give you $10. But you can't have this D in math, all right? You need to get better, baby." Real compassionate, encouraging. Mm-hmm. She said, "You get 3 A's and you get $30. And he said, "Okay, well, I'll just get the $10 right now, and I'll think about what I'm going to buy with $10. Yeah, that's fine. And I was just thinking, I don't know what I can say to this kid to motivate him. Be like, "Hey, man, I used to get D's in math too, but you can't make excuses. You have to get better."
Find entertainer and hypnotist Chris Jones at hypnotistchrisjones.com. The One Word Chris Jones Podcast, a podcast for higher production.